Hello and welcome back to a very special episode of Meet the Pros. My name is Tabitha. I'm an administrative assistant over at Hackstons, but just because I have that role doesn't mean I don't love whiskey. Today we are at Milroys of Spitalfields. It is actually the second location to the oldest whiskey bar in London, the original location being in Soho. I actually have been here twice now. Last night I was at Women's Whiskey Night for a lovely event. You'll hear more on that later on. But today we're actually joining Fraser here. He's going to show us all around Milroys of Spitalfields. They have a private cigar terrace. They also have a tasting room as well as over 1,200 bottles of whiskey. So let's go inside and see what Fraser has to say. What can you tell us about Milroys today?
So hey, this is Milroys of Spitalfields, which is the second Milroys site. Our first site was established in 1964 in Soho, and we kind of branded ourselves as the original whiskey specialist. And in 2019 we decided to move east, and this is our second site.
Amazing. I mean, I can tell from the selection that you have quite a bit here, so why don't we sit down so you can explain it all to me. All right, so now that we've sat down, I can see that there's a lot of whiskeys. So how many different whiskeys do you actually carry?
So we have 1,200 different whiskeys on site. We have 800 in our whiskey bar, which is where we're sat now, and we have another 400 in our members club upstairs as well.
Wow, okay. So 1,200 exactly, give or take. Give or take. Are there more here or at your sister's site?
We've got about 900 more than they do.
You've got 900 more?
Because all of ours is purchasable by the dram, whereas they've got a large shop. So actually their shop carries 800 bottles and their bar carries 300, but you can't drink everything on site, whereas you can drink everything on site here.
And what makes your selection so special? What makes it stand out? What can you tell us about it?
So the actual process of curating it, just writing the list took 3 months, and it took another 3 months to actually get it all in one place. We're predominantly Scotch heavy, so about 80% of all those bottles are Scotch. We have a large selection of bourbon, so even though we're not a American whiskey specialist, we do still have over 100 bottles of American whiskey as well. The collection is quite organic. We don't have too much structure. We just kind of, we troll auctions, we talk to brands, we talk to wholesalers, and we just kind of get the best we can for the our consumers at the right price.
Yeah, just bring in what you think people would like and what you would like, I'm sure.
bring in what the staff want to drink as well as the guests.
I'm sure you get asked this all the time from people wanting to purchase whiskey, maybe kind of show off a little bit. Yeah. What is your most expensive bottle? So
the most expensive bottle we have by the dram is one of the Glenfarclas family casks. So this is the 1964, which is 53 years old, and this comes in at £450 for a 35ml pour. Yeah.
450?
Yeah, Glenfarclas single casks from the 60s are not cheap. And this is a great example of Glenfarclas from the 60s. If you've got a special occasion coming up.
Do many people purchase this?
We've sold a fair amount. As you can probably see from the bottle. Yeah, we have people who religiously love Glenfarclas, and people who, sometimes want to splash a bit of cash.
Have you tried it?
I have tried it.
What's it taste like?
It is incredibly deep, rich, very heavily sherry is I think the colour.
Yeah, that's
probably
wow.
Used to.
Oh my gosh, okay. I won't be trying it today. It'll be wasted on me. Obviously, coming from a whiskey background, I think that there's certain stereotypes when it comes to whiskey, like you're an old man with a cigar in your mouth and a big leathery armchair and a shelf of mahogany behind you. If someone is wanting to get into whiskey, if they don't quite fit that narrative, what drink would you recommend to someone that would want to get started?
So the drink that I recommend, so we always do a selection of highballs. We have a draft system where we can dispense highballs for the people who, maybe don't want to drink whiskey straight. I think it's a great way to drink whiskey. You can still pick up the, the profile of the whiskey, but something just to lengthen it out and maybe take the edge off the ABV, because a lot of people say they don't like whiskey. What they don't like is neat spirits.
Right.
So sometimes it's just trying to ease people in.
Okay, cool. Would you be able to make us a cocktail?
Yeah, of course, no problem at all.
Amazing, thank you.
So today I'll be making you one of our Johnny Walker highballs. So we have all of our highballs on draft. For speed, we want to be able to spend as much time as possible with our guests. So the way that we do that is we have a series of empty kegs that we fill up with our pre-mixture that we carbonate overnight, and then we dispense through a beer chiller. Please let me know what you think.
That was the fastest cocktail I've ever been served, so cheers. Cheers. What's in there? Lemonade?
So this is a Johnny Walker, the black label with a strawberry lemonade.
Oh, it's nice and sweet, summery. Yeah. Love that. Actually really nice, reminds me a lot of summer. It's got a lot of like fruity notes in it, which actually reminds me of one of the whiskeys that I tried last night. So I'm here with Thea, who's one of the founders?
Yes.
Did you help found Women's Whisky?
Yes, so Kelsey was the original founder. She started it in our Soho branch, and then I joined in, start helping maybe 6 months after she started. So to really start like picking it up and stuff like that, because she unfortunately had to move back to Australia. Typical women's whiskey night, you'll sort of show up. Sometimes we'll have like a little drink on arrival, usually sort of like a whiskey highball, something like kind of nice and light, ease you into it, because it is a weekday, so we can't go straight in.
No, work tomorrow.
So usually start off with that, and then the tasting can be anywhere sort of usually around 3, but anywhere between sort of like 3, 5. We've done 7 once, and that was a lot. 7 whiskies.
Oh my god.
Depending on sort of like the brand or who we've got down, and sort of like how extensive their range is, that sort of thing, or what they want to sort of like talk about or show off. Tonight we are with Macmira, and they've got 3 different whiskies down, and what they've done, they've chosen like different cask samples to sort of showcase.
So I've been drinking whiskey for about 12 years. Sort of wanted to get into the establishment and have a great big high back leather chair of my own and drink whiskey in private whiskey clubs. Started at the Soho Whiskey Club, then I found out about Milroys. I've worked with Boutique, and I love whiskey so much, and when Macmira said they needed a hand, I've stepped up as a brand ambassador, and Women's Whisky Night has been going on for a couple of years now. Started over at Milroys in Soho, and it's now over here at Spitalfields, and this is the first time that Macmira have been able to come over and do a Women's Whisky Night, because they now have a female brand ambassador, which is fabulous.
Lovely. What would you say to someone who's new in the whiskey environment, who wants to get into whiskey but might not have the palate now?
There will always be a whiskey for you that will be your gate whiskey, you know. Mine was Talisker peated, heavy, savoury kind of whiskey. Somebody else, depending on their palate, it might be something a little bit sweeter, like an Irish whiskey. So it's anybody who says to me, "Oh, I don't like whiskey, it's horrible." 12 years ago, I couldn't stomach it. I hated the smell. But then I got my in, and it's exploded from there. So there's always a whiskey that will be the one that gets you into whiskey.
Right.
It's just maybe come into a club like this where you can learn about whiskey.
I used to work as a waitress. We have a cocktail bar in Soho, so it's like an underground cocktail bar, and I used to work as a waitress down there, and the amount of times that I would sort of go to a table, usually men, and ask them, "Oh, what can I get you to drink?" They'd be like, "Oh, we want to know about the whiskies," and they'd say, "But you know, it's all right. Just we'll speak to the bartender, who was a guy." And I'd be like, "I know what I'm talking about." And they'd be like, "No, we'll chat to the bartender."
Wow.
So let's go round. What flavours are we getting? And there's no wrong answer because no one's got your taste buds. So you are coming up with.
I said marmalade.
Awesome.
Yeah, spices and vanilla.
Cool.
I'd go with the vanilla.
I'm getting like
What you do, you take a little bit of the whiskey in your mouth and you hold your nose. You swill it around your mouth for a bit, swallow, and then open your nose. And you get left with a whole other bunch of flavours going on.
So one of the things I think Milroys have done really well, have recognised that women may struggle in a bar. Any bar. In fact, I think it comes down to confidence with women anywhere. I go on holiday by myself. I love it, okay? I sit in a bar by myself, I've got no worries about that. I've got friends who won't even go for a coffee by themselves. So I think by having a women's whiskey night, it's a safe space where you can drink whiskey without having someone coming up to you and going, yeah, you might want to put some ice with that, love, or you might want to add some water to that. No, it's a place where you can decide what you want to do with your own whiskey and build your confidence. So when you do go to a bar, you can turn around and go, actually, it's already at 40%, why would I water it down anymore? You know, to have the confidence to be able to hold your own at a bar.
It was so good. I learned a lot, had a lot of fun. No stupid questions, it was totally right. Everyone in there was so lovely. Definitely recommend Milroys, definitely, 100%.
So Women's Whiskey Night was set up about 4 years ago by a few of the women who used to work at, who actually some of them still do work at Milroys, just to kind of create a space for women to, you know, have a tasting and talk about whiskey and talk about their kind of shared experiences within the industry. Yeah, kind of creating a platform for kind of female bartenders and women in the industry to, you know, kind of shrug the perception of, you know, a male-dominated bar environment.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself last night. Had a little bit more too many. But I'm here today, and I'm alive.
As lovely as this drink is, it is about 11 in the morning, and I've got to get back to work. Look at the time. So I'm going to leave this here, but I've had an absolutely amazing time. It's been
great to have you.
Super informative. Love all the different whiskeys, and I'll definitely have to come back to try every single one.
We'll be waiting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
See ya.
See you next time.